Hi everyone, my name's Annabel Theaker and I am the Local Networks Manager at Parkinson's UK. I'm here to introduce this short video, which is for all local group lead volunteers, to learn about the changes to the current local group rules and any action needed in order to comply with what we now are going to be calling the operating framework. We've made changes. We're working towards developing a flexible and sustainable local group network. And by reviewing the rules, we've been able to ensure that this meets the needs of our local group network and is there to support you as volunteers. We've updated them to make them more user-friendly, easier to follow, and I have Elaine Evans with me, who is one of our trustees, to talk a bit more about the process we've been through and why this is important, and our volunteers who have been on the working group for this, James Walker and Heather Kirk. Elaine, do you have anything to add before we begin?
Thank you, Annabel. I'd also like to add that as well as being a trustee, I'm also the treasurer of our local support group in Llandudno, and I've lived with Parkinson's for 20 years. I'm delighted to be here today to be part of the launch of this new framework. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you all for the work you've done in developing this. I know it won't be been an easy task, especially doing it virtually via Zoom. As a member of the board, we delegate responsibility for running groups to the lead volunteers, but the board is still ultimately responsible for making sure that everything the charity does happens in a way that means our legal and financial responsibilities, including our objectives as recorded with the Charity Commission. These include providing information and support to help everyone feel in control of life with Parkinson's and to find new and better treatments and to raise awareness to change attitudes around Parkinson's. The operating framework is one of the things that the board has created to give them assurance that this is true for local groups, to make sure that we are compliant and doing the best we can for people affected by Parkinson's.
Thanks, Elaine. That's fantastic. Heather, could you tell us a bit about the process that we've been through together to get where we are now?
Yep, no problem. The initial process began at the beginning of this year, 2021. The project manager invited volunteers from all parts of the UK to come together and review and update what was called the local group rules. For want of a better phrase, we all sat round the table, albeit by Zoom, and went through the local rules page by page, section by section. We're in breakout rooms, brainstorming various sections, coming up with ideas of what can and can't work. We had to be mindful always adhering to the charity legislation and our own charity visions. The project team would then pull all the ideas together in preparation for the next meeting to enable the team and the volunteers to agree the various aspects and amendments before we would move on. This process carried on until such time as we all agreed on the name, the wording, the terminology before we presented the new operating framework document to the board for consideration and finally for sign-off.
Wonderful. Thanks, Heather. It's certainly been an intense process, hasn't it, for us all?
It certainly was, but it was
good. Good. I'm pleased about that. And I'll echo Elaine and say thank you to both of you and the rest of the working group for going through that. James, do you think you could just let us know sort of what's changed? What are the main things that are different?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the operating framework isn't dramatically different to the previous local group rules. Most of the existing rules remain the same and haven't changed. We've worked hard to change the language, though, to make it more user-friendly for lead volunteers and have given those volunteers more discretion as to how they make decisions. There are still certain rules around this, but you'll be able to choose how and whether you have meetings or do this in a way that suits the lead volunteers in your group. We've also taken out much of the procedural information for other things too. and you'll find this in the local group directory. We've added more information about what happens when things aren't working, but don't worry about that. Nothing much has changed, and nothing to do with money has changed. I think that's about all the main changes.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. It's not massively different, is it? We've kept most of the principles in there, just tried to make it a bit easier for volunteers. Thanks, James.
Okay.
Elaine, I wonder what you can, from your point of view, what does this mean for volunteers?
Well, I think, like you said, firstly, I would hope it would make life easier for everyone. But the purpose of the local group rules is to enable, encourage and empower volunteers to support the work of the charity to meet its overall objectives in a way which is lawful and consistent with the charity's operational guidelines.
And Heather, I wonder, as a volunteer, why is this important to people affected by Parkinson's?
Well, it's really important. People affected by Parkinson's join a support group to receive support from other people also affected by Parkinson's. They want to feel part of a group that's well run and has the values of the charity at the heart of everything they do. And the ultimate goal for everyone affected by Parkinson's is a cure, and we can only achieve this by following a good framework, ensuring that everything is done legally, compliant, and that we use our money and resources in the best possible way. People don't want to financially support a charity or any other organisation which is not well run and then wastes money. So we want people affected by Parkinson's to come to groups and have confidence in our volunteers and to trust that we're making the best decisions for people affected by Parkinson's.
Wonderful. Couldn't have put that better myself.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much, Heather. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lengthy process, but we've got something that we're quite proud of. And this operating framework will be effective from the 1st of January 2022. We will make sure that all groups are sent a hard copy, and it will also be available online on our website. If you just Google Parkinson's UK local group resources, it will take you, it's first option on Google, so you'll be able to find it that way. And yeah, we hope this makes life a little bit easier for you in running your group and feeling confident about doing so. So I guess to sum up, what we've got here is an operating framework that ensures that you're meeting the needs of everyone affected by Parkinson's while also being compliant with relevant governance requirements. It also is there to give a clear steer of the responsibilities and actions required by all lead volunteers, so that you know exactly what you're expected to do. And it underpins our local group directory, which is your how-to for running a group, I guess. Elaine, James and Heather, thank you so much for your time today, and Heather and James for your time throughout the project. And we will be in touch soon, I'm sure.